Lama Dangum Pojet Sun Champeyan La Chatselo Angilo de Jibni Jinta Nitare Namda Rabzalwe Jinye Dungu Yishin Sichir Nikitu Kale Bamzin Angda Zipe Zunjer Marik Muntum Dunga Jisirwe Jozo Kunla Buchi Tarze Yen La Ju Yang Zin Rutare chejo nyamo nilo leki chajo joze jin mari munse dunga nyugu jinye juze raji nam dune dangshin sa chu tarzun yente luzo yaze tuvuku chudak chudan chuni yente 달르문세 자페얀라두 오마라파사나 디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디디 Omara Bazana Omarapatana di zeden jeki jenrab üzegi dalı di mumun barab zalne kadan tenju yunlu topai lodu pope nangwa tseldu su gangze dawar de bam junze diwar de nayang 공부 잠연 제니니 객매 빠르양 통화쇼. Okay, welcome to our class. So last time we were talking about source particles. Um, s- oh yeah. Huh. Can we all see source particles? Yeah. So
Yes.
we talked about um that they have three main functions according to this book. Source or origin of something. Uh, the second is to make comparisons, and the third one is exclusion and isolation. So there's a couple more, but those are the three main ones. Then we covered the first one, I believe, last class. Are there any questions about source particles? Everything is clear. Basically, it just means from. Actually, that's all to know. In this case, it just means from. So I guess we can do one example or two just to check how we're doing. Maybe this one, I guess. Sanjeki semchen tamche marik pemende. Oh, I think we did this one actually, right? Last time. Maybe we'll do this one. Uh, Dawa dampo ne samla shuk. So the source can either be a space or time. In terms of space is where somebody's from, for example, and in terms of time is from a particular time. In this case, this is a time source. So dawa dampone from the first month. Sam is retreat. Samla shug. So somebody stays in retreat since the first month. I guess it's from the first month, but in English you have to say since, I guess. Does that make sense? Yeah. So, jipa, jipa dag, tokma mepe dune, korwara kyam. Jipa is actually this is all used a lot in the text to mean child, children like beings. Chipadak is the plural. Tok, Tokma Mepe Dune. This is also, actually, this is all over the text as well. Tokma means beginning. So Tokma Mepa is without beginning. So Tokma Mepe Dune is from beginningless time, or since beginningless time, they're translating here, but this is very common. This Tokma Mepe Dune is all over the text. If you guys read Punsan Lames Chelung, the words of my perfect teacher, Patrul Rinpoche uses this a lot to say that all our mothers are Tokma Mepe Dune Pama, our mothers from beginningless time. He says something like Chikyang Me. There's not that has not been our mother since beginningless time. Korwar, this is the ladun in Korwa in Samsara. Kyam, wonder. Also very very common verb. But the main key here is the focus of this is that ne, again showing the source. So I guess we can do let's do this one, I guess. Pune, Nepal from Tibet, Peyugi, Bardu. From Tibet until uh, Nepal or to I'm sorry, what did he say here? From Tibet to Nepal. From Tibet, Pyo is Tibet, Peyugi Bardu. Until Bardo is until Beyul is Nepal. Beyul is Nepal. Pel actually means I believe it means wool. Somehow they call Nepal the land of wool. That's the ancient name. Also, by the way, when you guys read this in the texts, when you see this term Peyul, for example, in Guru Rinpoche prayers, they say, "Oh, he was in the border between India and Nepal." Peyul, Peyul and Kyagar, Peyul and Kyagar ki Samla in the border of um, India and Nepal. When they say Nepal, they don't mean what we think of as Nepal now, that the modern country of Nepal. What they mean is the Kathmandu Valley, actually. And when they say Belpo in the text, they don't mean the modern Nepalis. They mean the Newar people. Just so you guys know, um, Nepal, even to this day, people in the mountains they say, "Oh, I'm going to Nepal." They're in the country of Nepal, but they mean they're going to the Kathmandu Valley. And even when they say that, I think in Parche Lamsel, I believe, or Sampalumtum, I don't remember, they say that Guru Rinpoche was meditating in Yangleshe, which now is known as Parping, in the border between India and Nepal. Actually, it's just on the outskirts of Kathmandu, you know. Just so you guys know, if you see this term Beyul meaning Nepal, it means Kathmandu Valley. Okay, so I think that's clear, I guess. So now next, we're going to talk about the second. Oh, this is actually the same usage. We were talking about scriptures. Uh, so the source particle can also be used as quotations in the text, and this is a formula. If it's a text name, they would use le, the quote, and then it ends with she, which means said. And then if it's a person, they use an agente particle, the quote, and again she, or in sung or sung so afterwards. So this is the formula that they're gonna use when they're quoting text, which is quite common in basically all the texts. Um, all the Buddhist texts are quoting older texts. Actually, the Tibetan tradition is in a way is interesting because in the Tibetan tradition, we never study um, actual source text. Hardly ever. I mean, occasionally we read a sutra here and there, but mostly we're studying the commentaries. So the commentaries, the way they're validating their that they're like legitimate is by quoting the sutras or by quoting other Indian masters who themselves are commenting on the sutras. If you quote Nagarjuna or if you quote Chandrakirti or Asanga or Vasubandhu, then you're considered, your text is considered legitimate. So that's why we're gonna see this all over the place, these quotations. So let's see. Oh, I think we did this last class somehow. Maybe having deja vu. Let's do uh this one. Let's do this one, I guess. Sanje ki chekun tak mepa in shesunso. So Sanje ki, this is the beginning of the quote. The Buddha plus agentive particle, and then we can see that this is she. This is the he said. Sung so. Again, this is in the formula she sung or she sung so. Then we know that this is the quote actually. This is the actual quote of the Buddha. Sanje ki she sung so. So what is in between is the actual quote. We can see up here in the formula. Chukun ang mepain. All phenomena are selfless, or all phenomena lack a self. Is that clear? Yeah.
Yes.
Feel free to ask any questions if anything is unclear. Anyways, that's that. Oh, Bardo. Bardo is like in the Bardo teachings. Lama Karma will give some teachings on Bardo a little bit in our new upcoming program. And that Bardo is spelled like this, but there is Da Narodo, Bardo. But that bar means is the same thing. It just means in between, an in between state. But actually, in this case, it also means until, because until means in between something, right? Like I'm going to drink water until am full, or I'm gonna eat food until I am full, right? There is that in between, and in between me being having an empty belly and being having a full belly. Uh, so bardo means until. Okay. Let's do this one also, I guess. Ranjun Dorje, marked by an agentive particle. So Ranjun Dorje is the third Karmapa. So marked by an agentive particle, and again we can see that there is this Shesung. So he said. So then we know that the quotation is actually this one. Namtok is conceptual activity. Concepts. Namtok. Actually, the full form of Namtok is Nampartokpa. Sometimes you might see that. Nampartokpa. Nampartokpa is compressed into Namtok. Namtok Gi Rangshin, the nature of thoughts. Namtok Gi Rangshin, the nature of thoughts. Choku, Choku, Ku is Kaya, Chu is Dharma, Dharma Kaya. And we see the verb to be is omitted. Remember that out of the four kinds of verbs, the only verb that can be omitted is yin. And so this yin means two things are equal to each other. So namtok rangshin is one, choku is other. So the nature of thoughts is dharmakaya. So Ranjun Dorje said, and you can use quotations if you're translating. Okay. Okay. So that's the first.
Sorry, just a question.
Yes.
At the end of Dharmakaya, there's all. Is it to end this, or what is it doing?
Yeah, so it's a terminating particle. The thing here is that usually the terminating particle is at the end of something, but
Yeah, yeah, that's why I was surprised.
because this is a quote,
Because
uh,
yeah, right, right.
so
Okay.
it's
Yeah,
even
yeah.
like it's even making it more clear. Like, oh, this
Hmm.
this should be a red flag. Oh, why is there a terminating
Hmm.
particle in the middle of the sentence?
Yeah.
Oh, because it's a quote, actually.
It's the analog of a dot.
Yeah, yeah, actually, a little bit, yeah. But yeah, but for example, on some refuge prayers, we say Lama la chepsuchio, um, Sanje la chepsuchio. Like at the end, you say oh, oh. So it's also like a sentence, I guess. Like I
Hmm.
take refuge in the Lama, I take refuge in the Buddha. Sometimes they repeat it a lot too, but yeah, you can think of it as okay, something is a statement has been made. Okay. So now the second usage is comparison. When we're comparing one thing to another. This could be a little bit confusing, I guess. Um, to express the advantages le as well as pe and we. Yeah, so for the comparison, we only use le. We do not use ne, just so you guys know. Um, and this will be the word than in English is bigger than that, like that, right? So, oh, my dog friend came back. So, uh, this could be confusing because if you flip it, you can flip it around and the meaning will be the same. The way I think of it is the particle le is always right next to that which is being compared to. So I think, for example, like in this example, uh, gonpa di campa de le. So le is going with campa de le. Therefore, like when I'm thinking, I think, okay, compared to that house, I always think that word compared. So compared to that house, the monastery, this monastery, Chewao, is bigger. By the way, I don't know if we have covered this in this class or not. I don't remember, but for example, for big, there's Chempo, who is big, and then bigger er is Chewa, and then biggest est is Cheshu. So just so you guys know, there are these. I remember when I was learning English, we learned big, bigger, biggest. So just so you know, big is Chenpo, and this applies for everything, these endings. So for example, like Yakpo is good, Yaga is better, Yakshu is the best. So it's good to keep, and of course, because this is a comparison, we have to say bigger. So that's why this is Chewa, not Chenpo. There is another one in Tibetan when something is too big, they say Chedrak, Drak. If you put this ending Drak at the end of a word, it means it's too much of something. So if you change the ending of a particular adjective, it works like in English, it would be like in this example I use big, bigger, biggest, or too big also. I think I was talking to Claire and we might do a colloquial class. I think this maybe will be in the colloquial class, I guess. Let's see.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I think we need to get more colloquial here. We're too classical. So after once we finish all our, I guess once we go through this book, then we can go get do some colloquial maybe. I'm also happy if we can continue learning. Okay, so Gonpa D. Now we're gonna do the next one. Gonpa D, Kangpa De We, chewao. So it's the same except they're changing le for we. Because you can use either one. And now they've flipped it now. So Kampa le compared to that house, Konpa this monastery is bigger. Cheo. And there's no yin. The yin again is omitted. Is that clear? Yeah. So just think wherever you see the comparison, just think that the uh, compared to that which is compared to is right next to the particle. So the order doesn't matter. It can be flipped, as you guys can see. Okay. Um, Let me see. Let's keep going here. Rirabni, Rirab is Mount Meru, like we say in the mandala offering. Rirablinshi, Rirablinshi, ni de Jempadi. Mount Meru in the four continents. Sometimes they translate it as Mount Sumeru. I'm not sure what the difference is in Sanskrit, uh, but it means the mountain in the center of the Buddhist solar system or something like that. Rirabni, Riwokunle. So compared to all the mountains, Mount Meru, Toino is higher. Toa is high. Toga. In colloquial, you say Toga. Like if you're going upstairs, you say, oh, Toga la drogi. I'm going up. To is high. Nyentu le. So Nyentu is the Shravakas. Compared to the Shravakas, Nyentu le. Chanchup sempa. Pakpao. Compared to the Shravakas, the Bodhisattvas are more noble. They're more pakpa. Okay, so that's that. You can go through a couple of other examples, but that's the essence of this comparison. So that's the second usage of source particle. So far we have the first usage is telling you basically the origin or source of something. Second is comparison. Okay. Now
Daniel,
third, yes.
I think this, you've said this, but for comparison, is the verb always going to be yin?
Uh, it is actually I've never thought about that.
Maybe the
Yeah.
negation as well is
Yeah, the
not.
negation. Yeah, it is or isn't. In I think so. I cannot,
Uh,
at least right now, I cannot think of a case in which it's not. Can you guys think of in English? Can you think of a time
Well,
when
in
you're comparing?
English, you would use has, but in Tibetan, you express the possession by other means.
Or like we
Someone
say,
has something more than,
yeah.
yeah.
So it can be, yeah. So it can be in, or it can be out of the four kinds of verbs that we learned. It can be in, which is the um linking verb. It's called in this text, linking, or existential, which is you. Also, I guess then.
But you know, maybe there are, I don't know, but maybe there are a variety of verbs that could be used after all. For example, I don't know, the rabbit runs faster than the bear or something.
Faster. So that would be
But maybe it's not this construction.
no, but I think yeah, let me think. The rabbit. Let's say like the dog runs faster than the human. Okay, so dog is key. So you would say mile. I guess you would say is faster.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, is faster. I
Okay,
think as far as I can think of, yes, yin is the verb.
okay.
I'm gonna think more about this
Mhm. So this
to
is
find
sort of
find
a
another.
canonical construction
Yeah,
with
as-
yin or the negation of it.
Yeah, that's a good question actually. I never thought about this one, but let's see on the examples. Telecarpo. It is whiter than that. It is. Yeah, I mean they all seem to have that horse is more red. Tadel Tademe de Marble. Yeah. It seems that all the examples are actually yin. So yeah. So far I think that's the case. If I think of an exception, I'll let you guys know in the next class. Yep. Any other questions? So now we're going to our next set of examples. The next big usage of lay is exclusion and isolation. Exclusion is basically other than or apart from. I um I in my brain I think of it as the same as comparing, except that the verb is negated afterwards. So I mean you would translate it different in English. So here is the example. Lama le resamedo. So in this case, apart from or except from, apart from the root lama, the Tawe lama. Re is rewa. Rewa means hope. So resa is by the way, I'm gonna explain this because these constructions are actually sa. Um this is in Tibetan, if you put this sa literally means ground, earth. It can mean soil. It can also mean bhumi, which I think Kip was asking in the bhumis. In the bodhisattva bhumis are called the sachu, the 10 bhumis. But in this case, it means the place of, and this is very common in both classical and colloquial Tibetan. For example, another way to say road in Tibetan, for example, say I'm here and I'm lost and I need to ask somebody, oh, is this the way to Taksang? I will say, oh, Taksang y Drosa. Dro means to go, Sa is the place. So Drosa is, I don't need to say Lamka. Lamka is path. I could say that, but Drosa is like more like, is there a way? Like perhaps there is no path, but I can find a way through, you know? Drosa is like the place of that you can go through. In this is the same construction here. So Resa, the place of hope. Drosa. I cannot think of another example now, but this is very common construction. And this is what makes Tibetan so flexible, because you can put this on anything and you can create like a new structure, you know. It's really cool. So resa, me, there's no, do is terminating particle. So here, for our sake, we're learning about this exclusion and isolation. So apart from the root lama, there is no other uh, place of hope. How did I translate it? There is no place of hope. Yeah, there's no like, yeah, you can say place of hope. I guess in English it would sound nice also to say like there is no other. Um, yeah, I guess place of hope is fine, but you guys get the meaning. So semle chi shen chikyang medo. Chikyang, this is what I was saying also before. Not even one. Chikyang, Chikyang me is not even one. Chikyang me. So apart from mine, remember that this construction will happen, always needs to be negated. In order to have the exclusion, the there always needs to be a negation for it to be an exclusion. So um semle, apart from mind, Chushen, other dharmas, there's not even a single dharma other than the mind. Is that okay? Yeah, good. So let's do one more, I guess, just to make sure it's understood. Kong le xian Kong le xian pe la ma jin. Except for him, apart from him, Shen is others, like Shen Tong, for example, other emptiness. Shen, Dak Dang Shen, Dak Dang Shen. Dak is I, Shen is other. Shen, Pela to Tibet, Ma Chin. Chin is the past tense of draw, to go. So, apart from him, others, Shen, Pela to Tibet, did not go.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
I noticed that on the homework there were some verbs other than present tense, and then also this is past tense, and I think we kind of went over it, but did we actually do a chapter about the different tenses of verbs, or is
It's a
there?
little bit, yeah, it's a little bit tricky actually because we didn't go over it. There's a chart in the beginning of this book where basically they say, look, some verbs have the same tense or have the same form in all four tenses or three tenses.
Right.
Then some have two, some have three, and some have four. The fourth tense being the kultik, the kultik, how do you say kultik? The one where you tell somebody to do something. I cannot think of the English right now. Like a command.
Imperative?
The imperative,
Oh.
thank you. Thank you very much. Yes. The kultik, the imperative. There is four conjugations, some have three. So it's contextual. But actually, after this, in the next chapter, there is another thing you can add to specify the tense for those verbs that don't have the conjugation. But so far, what we have learned is that some verbs have conjugation and some verbs don't have the conjugation. In the dictionary, in the dictionaries you can find, but some dictionaries, if you look, for example, at Christian Steiner, sometimes if you look at one input and the next input, a little bit they don't agree, you know. So, but for the most part, you can agree. But in this case, this chin for sure is the past tense of draw. And this is proper Tibetan. For example, in colloquial Tibetan, we would say nga chinpayin nga, for example, nga chongkang is shop. Nga chongkang la chinpayin, like I went to the shop. This is proper Tibetan, but to be honest, nobody speaks like that. They will say nga drawing because in colloquial Tibetan, you keep the same form of the verb usually, and then the auxiliary actually is what changes the tense.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So it's probably easier, right?
Yeah, it's much easier. You don't have to think, you don't have to conjugate the verb. You just throw in the auxiliary
Yeah.
and so there is an auxiliary coming up in the next chapter, I think, is your, and it can give you some sense, especially for future. Yeah, but uh-huh.
No,
Go ahead.
well, since I've already interjected, you mentioned that the online dictionary, the German one, is sometimes ambiguous. In cases like this, do you have any other source that you would? Oh, the dogs. The dogs are coming.
The dogs are coming. No, they're just hanging out there actually. Okuzu Zambola. The dogs are there's some people coming through, I guess.
Yeah. I see them.
So um, to be honest, the ultimate authority here would be the old dictionaries.
Hmm.
The old dictionaries would have the authority. But to be honest, everything is so contextual, and
Yeah.
I have seen cases where even though they're using a tense and the dictionary says that tense, it doesn't make sense based on the context.
Hmm. Hmm.
I would first look the context, and then if, for example, if you're reading a history book, or you're reading the biography of an old master, like you can somehow assume that most things are going to be in the past tense, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
It's yeah, I would say it's contextual.
Hmm.
Uh,
So even if it's approximate, it's enough to give a hint, and then the context would further clarify, right?
yeah, and there's also these, for example, for top, to attain, for jur, also for jur, um, for these kinds of verbs that are really common, like usually when there is an ao, a prefix a, is gonna be a future tense, and when it's not, it's
Hmm.
the present and past. And then usually when there is a, this is not a rule, but just usually when there is a both, for some forms like shug, when there is both a prefix and a in a post suffix, a yangjuk, usually that's past. You will begin to see these patterns when you
Hmm.
start to see
Hmm.
more texts. So, but in the case of this is 100%. This is past tense of go. This is just one of those that are very common in all languages. If you think when you say to go, even in English, go, went. It's such a different word.
Hmm.
Usually, for some reason, go is such a common verb in all the languages that I can think of, that I know of, that I can somehow like know a little bit of. Go is like a little bit, the past tense of go is always very different than the present tense. So it's also the same in Tibetan, but like I said, colloquial Tibetan. I mean, this is proper colloquial Tibetan, but it's not what you're gonna hear in the street. Yeah. Is that clear?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. So that's that. Uh, Conscious Sumle, apart from the three jewels, Chapmedo, there is no other refuge. There's no refuge. There's no refuge other than the three jewels. And then, so that's that for exclusion. And for isolation. Basically, this is the term Nangne actually. It's like from among, like if you're talking to your lama and like you tell, or like from among these practices, I don't know, ngondro ngondro nyamlen gi nangne, the ngondro gi nyamlen, the practices of ngondro gi nyamlen gi nangne, you have to put a gi, nangne, among all these practices, which one should I do? Nangne is the always goes together. From literally means from within. From within all these practices, like, um, which one is the best? You can think of it like that. So here's some examples. Uh, Ngensong. Ngensong are the three lower realms. Ngensong Sumne among the three realms. I guess you don't need Nang all the time, but I think when speaking, it makes it clear for the listener to use Nangne, but you can also omit it. From the three realms, amongst the three lower realms, Ngensong Sumle also. So now we can use either Ne or Le. Um, Concho Sumgi Nangne from among the three jewels. Dewa Nangne Shar from from within bliss, or yeah, from within bliss, arose. I guess bliss arose from within. That sounds better in English. Leo duk le tampo ni. From among, Leo is chapter, by the way. Leo duk le, from among the 6 chapters, it is the first. Rik duk ginang ne, from among the 6 kinds of beings. Rik duk ginang ne. Mi chok ino. The humans are supreme. Okay. I think that's clear. Are there any questions? Now some secondary functions. Not so used, but I guess we might come across them. So together with the ladon and the agentive particle, the source particles are sometimes used to form adverbs. So de is primordial, so donner, primordially, but you can also think of from the beginning, primordially. Both translations would be correct. Ning takpane, but yeah, you can say sincerely, but the actual meaning, this is ning means heart, takpa means actually rope, ne is from, so this literally means from, like the rope of my heart. But in Tibetan, this means like if you're really grateful for someone, you say nin takpane tujeche, or nin takpane kanjinche, oh, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much, nin takpane, from, or sincerely also. It could be translated as sincerely. Ten, absolutely. Ten. In colloquial Tibetan, ten means for like it's fixed, ten. Like if you make a plan with someone, like yesterday I made plan with some people. Ten today. I said ten today. Are you sure? But then the ten fell apart.
So it's okay. It is okay.
So ten, absolutely. Yeah. So actually, it's quite a rough hike. I'm going on quite a tough hike. That's why people are a little bit like chickened out. I'm I might not, yeah. It's a tough. I'm climbing up a big mountain. That's why people they were felt a little bit lazy.
Sorry, what is
Okay.
the elevation?
Yeah. Elevation. Well, Taksang is at uh almost 3,000, I think. Do you know, Claire? I think Taksang is nearly 3,000,
Wow.
and then I'm going to the mountain
Tak-
behind.
I think Tatsung is over 10,000 feet. So yeah,
Yeah,
I think you're right. It's about 3,000 meters.
yeah, I
Mhm.
think so also. Then the mountain
Yeah.
behind. So actually, on that mountain behind, there's 3 different. Tibetan is called Durche. Durche is a charnel ground. So there's 3 charnel grounds. So I won't be able to make it to the third one, but I'm gonna try to make it to the 2 below.
Is
If
that
I
where
met, hmm?
is that where the is it the 1,000 Dakinis charnel ground or
Yeah, exactly. Boom is called boom drag. Boom is the 100,000.
100,000?
Yeah, drag is the cliff or rock.
Is
When
it
I
a
was
proper?
there, they said that's where they take children when they die.
That's what I heard.
To the,
Yeah, and
Hmm.
it makes sense because there's no road, so how can they carry a corpse up there? I was thinking.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
it
So
appropriate to? Is it appropriate to put pictures from there on the Facebook or somewhere?
I don't know, but if I manage to make it, if I don't get lost, I'll take pictures and maybe I'll share them
Oh,
with the
okay.
group. There is a Guru Rinpoche cave also. That's where I want to sit and meditate a little bit when I get there. Yeah. So I can see the peak a little bit. I can see some peak back there. Hopefully I find it. But anyhow, uh, let's keep rolling through our book. So, by extension of their basic meaning from, through, since, so you can show reason also. And this is usually seen in texts that have been translated from Sanskrit. Dagi by me, Hapti le Tarpatop o. So Dagi I, by means of this method, attained Tarpa, liberation.
Kachak,
So yeah.
I'm sorry. In Sanskrit, it's called dative of purpose. So it's dative because
Yeah. telling you
of
the
purpose,
reason, right?
whatever it means.
Yeah. Because usually in the
Or
dative,
ablative of purpose. Yeah.
yeah.
One
So
of
the
the two.
dative, I believe that the dative in the way that it's explained in the classical Tibetan grammar is used with a ladon. Actually, in colloquial Tibetan, it would usually is chedu, but it seems to me that the le, I don't know, it's kind of confusing the way that Tibetans chose to have these particles be so flexible,
Mhm.
because this actually it is. I'm thinking this would be the function of the agentive particle, it's an instrumental actually. It's true, right? But
Well, it
then
seems the description of everything corresponds to not dative. I messed it up. Ablative is called in
ablative.
Sanskrit. So remember, I had the theory about la pointing is more like dative, and this is from ablative, and this is ablative of purpose. Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, yeah. That
Yeah.
makes sense actually. It is coming. The reason is coming from there, right?
Yeah, the reason is coming from this is the intuition.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. That makes sense. And in a way, conceptually, also, it makes it easier to, conceptualize it like that. Actually, Dagit tabdi le. So from this method or by this method, I guess. Yeah, yeah. I attain liberation. Actually, it intuitively it makes sense. I think yeah, it's not that
So,
far off.
sorry for the last minute. So my whole philosophizing about the previous law is like pointer to, and this is pointer from.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's a really good way to think. I have surprisingly really good signal here, right? I'm seeing you guys very clearly. Okay. Drachompa. Drachompa is foe, enemy. Chompa is conqueror or destroyer. So Arhat actually in Tibetan means a foe destroyer. Arhat. Kopang is the level. Tsundru is the diligence. Le top. So from the diligence, the state of arhatship is attained. Okay, good. So that's it for source particle, I believe. Now we don't have that much time. I will just introduce the relative clause because this is an extremely important structure in Tibetan, both for colloquial and classical. It can be a little bit confusing at first, but actually it's very, very important and it's very useful to understand uh, text, So I'm gonna put my sunglasses. So The easiest way to think of this is that the relative clause is functions like an adjective. The relative clause is giving you information about the noun. The relative clause is telling you something about the noun, just like an adjective, okay? And this, just like the adjective, there's two ways to use the adjective, which, okay, Claire, what are the two ways you can use an adjective? For
Two ways you
example, for example, if I have, say, big house, okay?
Mm,
How would you translate that in Tibetan? Big house.
Kangpa Chimpo.
Yeah, that's one way. And there's another way you could use the same. You can say the same thing in Tibetan. Do you know? Do you remember? We learned it in the connective particle section. We
Yeah.
learned.
Kangpa Gi Chimpo.
Actually, it would
Or
be
maybe Chimpo,
it would be,
Chimpo Gi. Wow.
yeah, exactly. Chempui kampa. Yeah. So the meaning is the same, right? We have these two ways to express the same thing. For example, duglok is clothes, duglok marpo, right? Red clothes. I could also say marpe duglok. And if I put the connective particle, I can put the adjective before the noun. And if I don't use the connective particle, I can put it after the noun, and the function is the meaning is the same.
So would you actually say Chenpu instead of Chenpu Gi because you can put that connected particle in there?
Yeah, that's the I'm being proper, but you can say colloquially if you say champogi is fine. It's not a big deal. But because that po is has no suffix, then you would need to, if you want to pass your RYA exam, you need to say champui. Yeah. But if you're talking on the street, it's fine. You can say champogi kampa. But normally you wouldn't say this colloquially, you would just say kampa champo usually. But sometimes, if you're being fancy, you can do this other construction. But for the sake of classical, I mean, this is very used, this other way to use the modify the noun. And this is very important because relative clauses function this way mostly. They can function either way, but um, I think more often they are used as the um, adjective would be modifying a noun by means of the connective particle would. Okay. So that's the theory. Now we'll go on to the practice. Let's read this actually, because relative clause are clauses that, like adjectives qualify nouns in a sentence. So, for example, the bodhisattva who desires to attain the level of Buddhahood practices on the path. So you can think the bodhisattva practices on the path. Okay, that would be like a normal sentence. The bodhisattva practices on the path. Now we have the bodhisattva who desires to attain the level of Buddhahood. So this is telling us something about the bodhisattva, right? It's describing the bodhisattva. So that's what the relative clause is doing. It's giving you some extra information about the noun or the agent, right? So that conceptually, think about this function. It's just telling you something about the noun, something extra. So relative clause always end with the infinitive form of the verb. So there will be an infinitive verb. So whenever you see a verb in infinitive, you can think, suspect there is a relative clause. When I was learning the relative clause, I was confused a little bit, but actually now uh, I do it naturally, Well, even when I'm speaking Tibetan, it comes out naturally. So even if it feels a little bit confusing, like as you practice, the brain picks it up. So now it's needed the same way, either placed right. Yeah. So this is what I just explained. There's two ways to Just like the adjective, this can be placed in both ways. Slightly more common for the adjective to follow a noun, it qualifies. And the relative clause more frequently precedes. Yeah, so that's what I was saying. Is the relative clause more commonly will be preceded by means of a connective particle. Okay, so we'll go through this example. Karpo is white, chö is dharma. So karpo chö, white dharma, or chö karpo, same meaning, right? Both are white dharma. So now this is a relative clause. Chö tenpa, taught the dharma, sanje. So chö tenpe sanje, the Buddha who taught the dharma. This is the most common one, actually. They're both relative clauses, but chö tenpe sanje. Basically, this is our noun, sanje, and this is the description. Chö tenpe sanje, the Buddha that taught the dharma. Actually, it would be translated usually in English. I think it works better. The Buddha that taught the dharma. The Buddha who taught the dharma.
If that phrase is in a bigger sentence, then is there an easy way to tell the difference, like to tell that this particle is connecting what it is connecting rather than just, just Tenpa and Sanjay? Or
Yeah, so actually in a sentence, in a bigger text, sometimes there are many relative clauses happening, So it's very important to identify the relative clause. I know this is a little bit confusing, so I'm going to go over this again next class. And we're also out of time almost. But I just wanted to introduce this idea of the relative clause. Think about this, maybe look relative clause in English, think about it a little bit. Next class we will unpack it more. Okay. Are there any other questions now, though? My friend, the dog, is sleeping there. I didn't see him. I don't know if you guys can see. He's camouflaged.
You just won?
The other ones are somewhere there. I don't know. I hear them barking.
I think I missed in the beginning if you said where you are right now.
Oh, yes. You can guess, I guess.
Looks like, oh, maybe Taksum.
Yes, I'm on my way.
Oh, wow.
Let me see if I can. Yeah, I pray that everybody can come here sometime because it's really nice.
Oh yeah,
It is.
there it is.
So I'm going to, on my way down, if I have energy, I'll go to Taksang again. I was there a few days ago, but I hope I can go. But now I'm going to Bumtak now, which is behind Taksang. You cannot see, but it's a mountain behind. Yes, guys.
Where will you sleep?
Oh, I have to come back down because tomorrow morning there is some teaching and I have to be there actually. So I have to find my way down. And I wasn't expecting to camp, otherwise I would have brought my camping equipment, but I don't have anything, so I have to find my way down afterwards. But we couldn't miss Tibetan class, so
Yeah,
even
please
here
find your way back.
we have an appointment with a relative class. So
Oh, I have a question.
yes,
So, so I think on my calendar, this next class is our last class as it was planned. And then do you have a sense of, like, we have a couple more to make up, but
yeah.
would would they be on the Monday or the Wednesday or?
Oh yes, I thought I would do the same, just because we know everybody now we're all used to this schedule. So I was planning to just book a couple more classes, just to finish this book, and then we can do another, maybe the same schedule if this works, or we can vote and see what works best, you know. Maybe think about it, and next class you guys can tell me what you guys prefer. Yeah. Mhm.
Maybe we can ask now if anyone objects. I don't.
Yeah, does anyone
I don't.
object to
Oh, there's a friend.
these dogs are so sweet here.
We
So yeah, does anybody object? Speak now or
No, no.
We got it.
I'm sorry, the objection is to change. The objection is to keep it. I'm sorry, the objection is that means we keep it, right?
Yeah.
Look at this doggy.
Uh, but, but but of course we'll send you new donations.
Yes. Oh yeah, of course.
Yes.
Money is always
I like
welcome.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, if you guys want to send some love, of course, I will not refuse. So, okay, so then we'll keep this time, and thank you guys for attending class.
Well,
We'll
the
talk
thanks
about
go to you, of
birth-
course.
Yeah, no, thank you guys. We'll see you guys in 47 hours.
Thank
Okay.
you. All the best. Yeah.
Thank you guys.
I
I need your
You will need
send
the
me
good
some
luck.
prayers. Okay, guys, take it easy. Oh, we have to say our manlam, by
Oh,
the way, guys.
dedication.
Our dedication. Yeah, yeah. Stop the